Let's pretend on today's food for thought that there's two people. You're not one of them. You're just watching them. You're just outside, hanging about, a bunch of people around. Two people closest to you. One of them brings up something just as a comment they want to talk to the other person about. It's not specifically about the other person. Could be anything. It's just simply that they brought up something that they wanted to talk to him about. The other person looks at him and goes, "No, I don't want to talk about that." Or they get really upset. It's like, "No, I'm not talking about that." In either situation, the first person has no clue what's going on with that other person. And so they get offended. They start getting upset. It's like, "Why are you mad at me? I didn't do anything." In that moment, and I've got more, but in that moment, two people have no idea in the direction of the other person. However, the first person getting mad at the second person without finding out what they're upset about isn't fair, which automatically makes it not right. See, we concern right and wrong with moral and vigilante, but nobody thinks about when they make a mistake being wrong about stuff unless they openly admit they made a mistake. Now, seeing that, coming back to the conversation, what if the person, the first person, had stopped for a moment and thought, okay, let me ask them, why did that make you so upset? The other person has an opportunity to respond with either anger, still to continue it, or with an opportunity to explain why they're upset. And in just that moment is that opportunity. So while both people need to work on seeing the other person's perspective, there's a lot of people out there that put bias before belief, or they stick with their belief, which is bias. When did figuring things out go out the window? When did trying to find out what was factual stop being a necessity? When did open minded communication stop being a thing? I remember, at least during the 90s, it got harder and harder and harder to talk to people about things to get an open minded response. Well, let me see things from your perspective type of mentality. Instead, we get so many people out there that have a nope, I know what I know, my stuff is true, I'm right. But a lot of those people, a lot of them, they get told the information. They don't do the research themselves. Why? It's a phrase that most people have used. They didn't have the time. Fair enough. You didn't have the time. A lot of it was because we're working. So let's say that 50% of the time of 100% of those people was based on working on something. Could be a job, or it could be just something that they have to maintain their daily life because it's a daily routine. It's something that they just can do. Okay. What about the other 50% of the time? Was it because you're under time restraints that are too much and you're just trying to get things done so you can get sleep that night? Because that happens. Or is it that being online, not researching, just looking up videos or playing games, which a lot of games, slots are a really popular thing, and gambling's addictive, as we all know. It's addictive. But other things are addictive too. Maybe it was TV. Maybe it was having to talk about what was going on this week with your favorite friend or a group of friends. Whatever the case is, did you put in the effort to research what you feel so strongly about when somebody brought it up? Or you felt so strongly about when you brought it up? We can feel as strong as we want about stuff. We can know in our heart of hearts something is true, but how much facts are behind that belief? And if we are wrong, why do we need to get mad about being wrong? Maybe it's not that we're mad about being wrong, but how people's personal opinions treat us, affect us. It's easy to say, oh, don't do this or that, or you don't have to feel that way, or get over it. But it's not easy to live up to that advice, no matter who we are. We can tell ourselves that all day. How far are we going to get? Is it going to make it just go away, change up, and make us focus and steer straight? Never met a person that was actually the case. Never met a person that was factual for. But I have met 100% of people that use that same way of thinking, and I've been guilty of it myself. I had to make a mental change a long time ago, and it's taken me years to get to the point I am at now. But what made it really hard to get to this point was the lack of guidance on what I needed, was the lack of help when I needed, was the lack of support when I needed it, was the lack of family and friends when I needed it. I've had firsthand account of being neglected. And for anybody that's ever just been neglected or forgotten about on, say, like their birthday, should know what I'm talking about. So let's multiply that personal experience of mine 10 times over. When just about everything you need to have support for. And there were moments, don't get me wrong, there were moments when people were there, but it was usually under their time frame, not mine. In fact, I don't remember, other than certain people that have passed away in my life, that were honestly there for when I needed them, not for when they wanted something from me. So understand that some people, with the reference to your birthday being the easiest thing to go off of, when people weren't there because they were busy, they had something to do, they had work, they couldn't get off early for it, they had school, they couldn't miss class. Sometimes the birthdays get adjusted to the weekend. But on your birthday, being forgotten about, it sucks no matter the reason. See, we both scrutinize and we sympathize with the exact same things. Birthday's just one example. It's not fair, but it does happen. But how lenient are we with people if they forget us? If you are, congratulations. If you're not, and I mean on a regular basis, why are you so scrutinous? And if you're like that on a regular basis, that means you got some issues that you didn't work through. That's typically all anger is. But going back to those two people sitting there talking to each other. See, that person that it was brought to their attention of what the topic was and getting upset and finding out, the first person finding out about what caused it, shouldn't be a deterrent about talking about it. See, it was important enough to bring up. So, if it's worth talking about, then maybe it's not so much about getting upset that the other person isn't willing to listen, but finding a way, which requires thinking and requires work, to communicate differently your point. And for those of you out there that have tried and tried and tried, I understand how difficult it is to get people to listen. Which is why, finally, after all these years of other people posting, COVID, Trump, government in general, jobs, all that stuff finally got me to start saying things, posting videos. See, while other people think they're right about stuff, the damage it causes, those other people don't have to endure. They have their own situations. They have their own endurance. They have their own problems. Some of us just struggle harder than others. And if the people that they talk to have no clue how difficult it truly is, because there's no experience, which goes back to the basis of that conversation. See, one person doesn't have the experience the other person does. Bringing up a topic could be more damaging than you were aware was even going to take place in the first place. No need to worry. Don't stress. Understand what the other person is going through. And for those of you who put blame onto people struggling without even trying to understand their struggle, shame on you. Everybody deserves to be treated decently. While we all need to improve, you who put blame on others without trying to understand their problems or situation, you need to do better. Period. You know? Because then more people would be willing to help you with your problems. But you're probably not open to suggestion about help either. That's fine. Just remember, struggle equals stress. And the less effort we put into working with each other to understand each other's viewpoints, the more we're going to get benefit out of it. Now remember, it doesn't just happen in one smooth flowing start to finish. If you hadn't noticed, living here on Earth, everything is struggling when trying to succeed at something. And there are unforeseens that will get in your way. I know the way we feel sometimes will break us from being that sane person. But if you don't have understanding and try to help people succeed in life, people are always going to fail and never break out of the situations that they're trying to get out of. But knowing what people want to do, knowing if people are willing to try, well, that's on you. You have to be willing to understand the struggle to find solutions. Not simply blame them for the problems that they're in. It doesn't help anybody. It just gives the person that you're blaming more reasons to have blame of their own. If we're trying to avoid blame and we're just trying to come to solutions, then shouldn't we stop blaming and try to start finding solutions. The longest video I've done so far, and I just started doing these, so you'll see that there's only like a handful of videos. But I also never thought I would be making videos. It's kind of therapeutic, and I can understand why people do it. And my own opinion in doing these is that I can speak my mind without instant feedback. I can get out my thoughts a lot easier. I can actually speak more clearly, struggle a lot less. I've had my own issues to deal with, and so being able to think straight has been a struggle for as long as I can remember. Yeah, I do know things and I can figure things out, but it disguises what I go through, what problem I actually have. And I've been diagnosed, and I've actually got paperwork proving my situation, so that just officiates a lot of stuff that I was thinking was the problem with me. But I had to do a lot of research over the years too. And let's just say that me and stress are not good friends at all, but we are familiar. So I understand emotionally what a lot of people go through, but I have to figure out logically how to solve my problems. I can understand what a lot of people go through with stress. We don't see it the same way, but that's why I put this video out there. I wanted people to understand that even though we don't do the same type of direction or pattern to work through the problems, working together with people will sometimes make our patterns easier because it's automatically harder the other part of the time. So don't need to mention that, even though I just did. But it's just something to think about. And that's today's food for thought.